Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is a video about conventions. That's right, we're talking about conventions. Hello, yes, my name is UltraDavid. Nice to meet you here in person online at youtube.com. Now, we're gonna be talking about the other type of conventions. Shoutouts to English and its various homographs. The thing is that all games have rules. You probably know that. Some of these rules are explicit ones, things that the game designers actually put in there, all right? So things that the game actually definitely ships with. Talk about fighting games. Fighting games have lots of rules. System mechanics, we're talking about character options, we're talking about input requirements, input methods, a ton of different kinds of rules that are actually in there. People have QA tested these, like that kind of explicitly written rule. But the other type of rule, the one that I want to talk about here, is just the kind of rule that people have settled on. The ways that people usually play. The ideas that people share about how it is that you should be playing. Not what is possible in the game. How should you be playing? That kind of rule. That's what I mean by a convention. And of course, these vary by skill level and they vary by different game. So let's talk about some examples of conventions. Let's talk about Street Fighter first. At lower level, mashing DP, you've seen this, and doing a lot of forward jumping. And this it does happen in Street Fighter 5, but it's actually been happening in every single Street Fighter, going back to we were doing this stuff in the 90s, in early Street Fighters. SF4, SF3 as well, it's been through all of these. Jumping, holding up forward, pressing the roundhouse button in the sky, then comboing into sweep when you land. Have you done this? I've done this. I think everybody's gone through a phase where it's up, forward, kick, crouching, kick. Loop it, do it again, you can't block it. We've all been here. How is it that that kind of thing has been found by thousands of people, maybe literally millions, considering how many people have played Street Fighter over the years? How have so many people found that same thing and decided that it was how they should be playing? You know, some mix of you don't know the rest of the options, walking feels slow, dashing doesn't feel very fast, you don't go as far certainly as a jump, and you can't even attack while you're dashing. Guess what, you can attack while you're jumping. That sounds perfect. Maybe you don't know all the special moves, maybe you're not getting anti-aired very often, maybe you're not doing anti-airs very often. And so, okay, what's left? Jumping in. And it feels like it's very strong at a certain lower level of play. Same kind of idea with mashing DP. I'm waking up into a negative situation. I don't want to be here. I don't want you next to me, guy. Get out of here. What do? You don't block, of course. This is a moment for wake up DP, random DP, and we all have the stereotype of Ken being the character who does this. What I think is weird is actually that in Street Fighter 5, maximum level Ken is actually one of the most like calm and whiff punishy and grounded and hit confirmy characters in the game. But at lower level for sure, we all have the stereotype of Ken going wild, his fist bursting into flame over and over and over again. You, as the person doing this, you don't want to be in a bad spot. Get the opponent off of you. I want it to be my turn again. You go to DP, and maybe people aren't punishing the DP well. Maybe it's a minimal punish, if anything. The penalty doesn't seem like it's a big deal. Or maybe you're not at a level of play where you care yet about what the penalty is going to be. And so, okay, again, this kind of thing has evolved again and again and again. Even in games where DPs don't even really work that way, you got to spend bar on it, like Third Strike and SF5, but nevertheless, that kind of stuff develops over and over. At high level play, an example of a convention in Street Fighter is actually the opposite, that it becomes pretty rare that people do a wake up DP, super, not even just in wake up situations, but like generally, you just don't go to invincibility very often. Mortal Kombat. At lower level play, it is very common. If you've played MK9, MKX, MK11, or even watched it, you've definitely seen people mashing their low pokes. You have seen down ones, down threes, come out back and forth over and over and over and over again. Neither player feeling like they have a lot of advantage out of it, but also like neither player really knowing how to get out of it. And again, it makes sense, right? They feel like an easy panic button. They are pretty fast, some of the fastest stuff in the game actually. They are usually safe. RoboCop down 3 actually punishable on block, but in general they are pretty safe. Some of them are totally safe. You know, you may not know that if you get hit by a down 1, it's not your turn and you actually can't do anything except for block for a little while. So you may want to mash to try to get out of it. Again, you want to take your turn back, kind of like the DP, right? You want to take your turn back right away. Same sort of idea. And then at higher level in Mortal Kombat 11, it is rare for players to do their just like raw invincible wake up 3 attacks. Again, like in Street Fighter, not very common to do your wake up invul thing at high level play. And in MK, you know, they don't lead too much, they don't lead too much damage. They are not maybe the best like option. You have a bunch of options on Wake Up in that game. And so you just don't see it very often. Maybe it's not the best way to spend meter, etc. Look, in a way, all these examples make sense. It's not that conventions don't make sense. There is a logic to them. That's why they become conventions, right? People are sort of persuaded that this is the way to do it. Or maybe they just kind of are trying it out, and through the interplay of the actual rules and maybe their incomplete information or their misunderstandings or whatever, they end up on the same thing. Instead, what I want to say is that knowing how to play fighting games well requires that you know these conventions, in part so that you yourself can actually take advantage of them by using them. Again, like there's a utility in them. That's like why they've developed. Relying on them yourself can be helpful, but then of course, knowing how to prey upon people who over-rely on those conventions is extremely important to winning. Knowing how to break these conventions at key moments can be super, super key to victory. So, okay, talk about Street Fighter V again. Just at lower level play, how do you beat these conventions, the ones that we talked about? Doesn't take too much, but you do have to maybe stop jumping. Did you ever think about that? Maybe, come on, buddy, come on, pal, bro. Did you ever think about maybe not holding up forward all the time? Did you ever think about maybe chilling out for a little while? Holding yourself on the ground for a little bit? Did you ever think about maybe anti-airing against somebody else? Aha, there you go, genius. But seriously, like, easier said than done, I understand, especially at some levels of play, but like that is the solution, and it gets you onto sort of the next step of what the conventions may be. And when it comes to somebody doing a Wake Up Dragon Punch a lot, if you're the other player, well, once you realize that you actually don't need to be next to them, why are you next to them? If you feel comfortable in neutral, and then you knock them down, and then you're like, oh no, I don't know if they're gonna do Wake Up DP or not, I'm worried. You don't need to be there, man. You can just walk away. Come on, get out of there. Go back to neutral and win in that side of the fight if you're confident in it. Maybe once you punish them big time a few times, maybe they'll get the message. Maybe they're used to people punishing with like a jab or a throw or something. Or again, maybe they're not the kind of player who is thinking yet about what the penalties could be. Again, in that case, just don't put yourself in that situation. What about MK? Okay, you're dealing with somebody who's doing low pokes a lot. Realize that if you block a low poke, it's your turn. You get to have your own party now. You can do a mid, almost every character, in almost every matchup. Once they block a low poke, they can immediately take a turn. But again, maybe you don't need to be there. Maybe you actually just backdash. Maybe you block, backdash. Maybe you're out of here now. Once you also realize that if you hit the opponent with your down poke, it's your turn in such a way that, again, they can't actually do anything about it. If you want to, you can start a high attack after that. You can start your stand one string, for example. Are you gonna teach this player how to play? I don't know. But at least getting yourself out of the situation and back to stuff that could be a little bit more effective for you. So again, knowing conventions is super key to being able to play well. A big part of how higher level players tend to beat lower level players is that they categorize lower level players into what kinds of conventions they may believe in. What do these players think is the way to play, how they should be playing, and then knowing how to blow that stuff up. Look, if you take each individual opponent as an individual human with their own strategy required to beat them, that's going to be tough. You don't know these people. You don't know what they think. You don't know where they're from. You don't know who they are. You can't treat them as an individual. Much easier to categorize them by what it seems like they believe in terms of conventions, and then blow up them for doing those conventions or over-relying on those conventions. You may not have realized it, but this is actually a video about King of Fighters 15, which I have just started to play and which I don't know that much about yet. I have a little bit of experience in the KOF series. I played 2003, 100 years ago. I played 13 for a while. Even that was a long time ago at this point. So I don't have that much experience in the series. I am at a level where like I know some of the character options. I know most of the system mechanics, but probably not all yet. But I definitely don't know what the conventions are. I'm just figuring this stuff out, especially because I've mostly been playing against my other friends rather than kind of like random players online who I'm probably gonna more often find the conventions from. So far to me, when I do play online, when I'm playing on ranked, I find that the convention is that you gotta be doing stuff. You have to be always pressing a button, jumping, hopping, special move, whatever. You do not sit still. That seems like what the convention is. And at my level of play, which is like low, like not the lowest, but like not good. So my solution to that so far has been to play in what appears to me to not be a very King of Fighters kind of way. I am hanging out, sitting still. I am anti-airing on reaction. I'm whiff punishing on reaction. I'm blocking and then punishing. You know, I'm moving around a little bit. I can't sit still in that game, but I'm not moving around nearly as much as the opponents are, and that has been to my benefit so far. But I see that that's not how high-level players play. They're moving around too. So I'm curious what they know to get the W's versus players who are constantly mashing stuff. I don't know what it is yet. I'm looking forward to finding that stuff out. What do you think? What conventions do you see in King of Fighters 15? How do you see players playing? And then what at different levels of play as well? And then what do you do to beat those conventions? What are your solutions to those conventions? I would love to know, just for my own benefit, but I'm sure that there are other people who are going to be reading the comments who would love to know that stuff as well. So if you got any info, if you got any tech, please post it up. I'd love to know. Thanks everybody. Appreciate you watching. See you next time.